I suppose we'll move on to Proposal B. We'll get an image on screen there as well, once again from Sky Sports. And obviously, this is the proposal, certainly, that a lot of people are looking towards at the moment. So, as we can see there, it links league and championship, each team playing 7 matches, filtering into an All-Ireland series. In the preliminary All-Ireland quarterfinals, or qualifiers, I should say, second and third in Division 2 drawn to play the Division 3 and Division 4 champions. In the All-Ireland quarterfinals, the top 4 teams from Division 1 will be drawn to play against 5th in Division 1, the Division 2 winners, and then the preliminary qualifier winners. The Tailteann Cup provides for the teams from Division 3 and 4 that do not qualify for the All-Ireland series, and then provincial championships retained, but as pre-season competition. So, I mean, there's a lot to kind of work through when you look at it very quickly. Like, you kind of nearly need to take a step back and think about it a little bit. But what are your kind of thoughts on Proposal B there? And do you think that system could be, the big saviour for Gaelic football? Because I think that's what, the GPA were kind of saying there during the week. And, Morgan coming out doing an interview, a couple, Tom Parsons, obviously the head of the GPA, coming out as well. So what do you think? Do you think Proposal B is going to be the saviour for Gaelic football and what we need going into 2022?
To be fair, like, as I said, like, considering loads of other proposals I've seen over the last few years, like this Champions League format and keeping the leagues the way they are, like, I don't know if I would have been, until I sat down and looked at the proposal, I don't know if I would have been comfortable with linking the league into the championship, considering how good a competition the league is. But having sat through it and looked at a lot of scenarios, I definitely think this is as close to no-brainer as you're going to get. Like, you're never going to get a perfect solution here where everybody's happy, all 32 counties are happy, all councils are happy, all managers are happy, all fans are happy, and there's more money in the GA, all that kind of stuff. You're never going to get a perfect solution. But I think what's, like, with a lot of work here, I think they've stumbled upon something that I definitely think with a few tweaks, it could really work. And I think it's worth a go. And I understand it's not a trial period or anything. This is a permanent solution, like, it will come in. But there's definitely room to kind of manipulate a little bit if it's not working or certain aspects of it aren't working. But I see no reason how it won't work and there won't be a real hype about the championship. Like, we've always said these league games are the best part of the season. Division 1 games at each other. Well, now you're having Division 1 games, but they're in the middle of the summer. Haven't had your provincial championships when the league takes place as well. And because it's a split season, it's all going to be condensed between, I think it's January and July. So you'll have your provincial championships January, February, March, and then you're into your championship and you're into this, like, massive festival of football, which is what is the reason we voted for a split season, so the club can have the second half of the year and the intercounty can have the first half of the year. So look, I think I do like it. Like, I like the aspect of every team's playing 7 games like normal in their league, except it's a championship group game in effect. But every team's also got a chance of winning an All-Ireland, so, and that's always kind of been the thing where, and it'll never happen, a Division 4 county winning an All-Ireland, but they can dream at the start of the year and go on that run. And if they fall just short, they maybe might win a Tailteann Cup, which has 16 teams on it. There's a bit of hype about that, where you can qualify for next year's Sam Maguire. There's a lot of good incentives here that includes all the counties. And, like, I think the top counties will be happy because they're playing against Division 1 teams. And then Division 4 counties will be happy because they have that chance of a potential All-Ireland, or at least a pathway to it. So while there might still need to be tweaks, I do think it's a proposal worth going with. And I think it kind of covers a lot of the bases. And we always got to think about this as supporters, as anyone involved in the game. What do the players want? And the fact that the GPA have said 80% of their members want this proposal, I think that should be enough for this to get in Congress, no questions asked. But fortunately, Congress is a lot more political like that. We haven't heard from Larry McCarthy, GA president, or a lot of the GA members who will be voting, which way they'll be voting. So it'll be an interesting couple of weeks. But for me, there's no excuse for this not to come in based on what Tom Parsons has presented last week on the 80% number wanting this proposal in.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely, out of the 2 proposals anyway, I think it's definitely the better of the 2. And I think a league-based championship is definitely something that I think a lot of people have really been looking towards over the past couple of years. And in particular this year, like the league games that we got this year were probably some of the best, games we've seen all year. Like, you think of the Dublin Kerry game, and, even when Dublin played Galway, you had Kerry against Galway, like all these brilliant games, even in the Ulster games as well, like Armagh getting that win over Monaghan the first day out, like, was a cracking game. So, like, now we could have a situation where those games actually matter something for more important, and not to devalue the league in any way or anything like that. We all know the league is important, but certainly for a lot of counties, like for the likes of your Kerrys, your Dublins, Even Tyrone now to a certain extent, given they've won the All-Ireland. Like winning a league is great and it's a lovely medal and all the rest, and I'm sure a lot of players will cherish it and keep the medals and whatnot, but the All-Ireland is the most important thing. And now you have a situation where not only do you keep the league and keep that same format, but you also, you're adding the championship into it as well. So it's going to make for, I suppose, from a fan point of view, like it's going to make for some exciting football, and you're going to have a whole host of football now as well.
Well, you take the Dubs, like obviously we're both Dubs. A lot of Dublin fans would always say the best part of supporting Dublin for the season is watching them in league away games to Clones. I remember watching Dublin and Killarney. I went on a Paddy's weekend in 2018, I think it was, to watch Galway play. Ireland won the Grand Slam that weekend. It was a great weekend, ending with Galway against Dublin on a Sunday afternoon in a league game that didn't really matter. I think the teams played each other in a league final a few weeks later, or there were league finals to come. But my point to that is, imagine that game actually having a bit of meaning in a championship, or like, we need to make sure we get into the top 5 or 6 or top 4. Sorry.
I suppose we'll run through maybe some sort of some arguments against Proposal B and a few different. And there is probably one argument against the Proposal B that, in my opinion, probably does have a good bit of validity to it. And we'll actually get an image on screen. So I actually took this from the GPA themselves. And this, for example, is how the structure would actually work. So you can see there, for example, you've got your 5 teams in Division 1, you've got your 3 teams in Division 2. Obviously, your 5 teams there from Division 1 go automatically, along with the Division 2 winners, automatically into the quarterfinals. But you will have a situation where the Division 3 and Division 4 winners will go into the preliminary qualifiers against the Division 2 sides there. So I suppose like the only kind of like, because you're kind of looking at it there, and I'm not too sure who actually put these groups together, because Clare obviously aren't a Division 3 team, but like I suppose like the main kind of question there is, we'll take the image off screen now, is like, say for example, if you're a Wicklow, for example, in Division 3, like realistically speaking, winning Division 3 is probably quite unlikely, with all due respect to Wicklow. Like their objective will probably be to stay in Division 3. But let's say, for example, they were to get relegated. Well, then they know that next year they actually have a great chance of progressing further into the All-Ireland series if they actually win Division 4. So like it starts becoming a bit of a, like, I understand you can't please everyone and you're trying to include everyone. But say, for example, even then, like in that image there, you're seeing the likes of, the side that finishes 6th in Division 1, won't progress on into the All-Ireland series, but the Division 3 and Division 4 winners will. I understand you're trying to include everyone, you're trying to include the Division 3, the Division 4 winners, but it just becomes a situation where almost being relegated might be better for next year's All-Ireland. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Can you put that graphic back up for a sec? It might be easier to kind of talk through. But yeah, it is kind of a good point you raised. Like, for example, if you see the 6th place team, and it's a good way of putting it, the GPA have kind of put it to try and make it easier for people to understand. Like, obviously you're looking at a situation where compare Monaghan versus Kildare. Like, Monaghan are clearly going to be a better team for finishing 6th in Division 1 more than likely, whereas Kildare finished 3rd in Division 2, suddenly have a chance of being an All-Ireland series, and all they have to do is beat Leitrim, and now they're in a quarter-final. So I do accept, and it's the old saying, like, I can't give you the formula for success, but I can give you the formula for failure. Try to please everybody, and it is a kind of, they've tried and make it attractive enough for the weaker counties, because if there was no path to the Senior All-Ireland final, I just can't see a way this would get through Congress. So I think this is the kind of, the evil we've got to put up with here. Like, I think if you finish 6th in Division 1 and you avoid relegation, but you don't finish in that top 5, which has been your goal all year, I don't think you could have that big an argument to kind of be throwing your toys out of the pram that Kildare or Clare or Leitrim are given an opportunity. But I do accept, like, for example, the fact that one Division 3 team and one Division 4 team, the 2 winners, get through to the prelim quarterfinals, does mean that obviously if you're in Division 4, you have a better chance of reaching those prelim quarterfinals than Division 3. So there is a kind of like contradiction in there. But at the end of the day, you want to be playing better games throughout. So I do think that will ultimately trump everything. The fact that we have this mix of league, you want to be, like, if you're in Division 3, you're only one good season away from Division 2. If you're in Division 4, you're miles off. You're not even in the same league altogether. And realistically, Division 4 teams and probably Division 3 winners will never really beat them in the prelim quarterfinals to get to those quarterfinals. But it does give them some sort of attraction to try and get there. But I do accept there are anomalies in it. And this is what I'm kind of talking about. If you pick holes at every single solution, there will be problems like this. And it is a really good example that you've given the one with Monaghan and then the Division 3 to Division 4. But I do think if you just see how it works out and see how teams kind of move on with it, I do think there's enough there. And it's also important to note, because a lot of people are saying like they're not knockout games, so they won't attract a big crowd. Like Division 1, every single team will be playing until the death, because there's 2 relegation and there's top 5s. There's only one team that'll end up doing nothing for the year. Division 2 is top 3 and then the bottom 2. So you're only really going to get those games in Division 3 and 4, which you're always going to get anyway. But they'll also have a Tailteann Cup to prepare for. So I do think there's a lot of positives opposed to negatives, but I do accept there are 1 or 2 kind of contradictions in the whole thing as well.
Yeah, I suppose like there are 1 or 2 like anomalies as well. Like I suppose the other one would even be for Offaly, for example, who, you know, won Division 3 last year. Obviously, well, they didn't win Division 3, but they're obviously promoted alongside Derry, like a huge achievement for them. You know, going up to Division 2 is obviously going to be very tough. Like Division 2 is going to be super competitive. But say, for example, if they were in Division 3 this year, they'd actually probably feel, you know, we could probably win that division. We could finish first and we could actually progress further into the All-Ireland series. So it is, I suppose it's one of them situations with Proposal B. Like it's the best proposal, but I don't think it is. Like I do think there will be some counties that probably aren't too happy with it. But again, that probably just comes down to their own sort of personal circumstances. So it's one of them. You can't please everyone, I suppose.
Yeah, and it's a good point. Like say Offaly, for example, like you do, like if I'm managing that team, you want to be playing the best teams to get better. Like, and it is an important point. Like a few years, it was maybe 15 or 20 years ago, before, you know, the league structure that we have now, Division 1, 2, 3, and 4 used to be 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B. And when we changed the system, it obviously it's worked brilliantly. Like there's so many good leagues, but what's ended up happening is, and not just because of the system, I think it was always going to happen, but it's widened the gap between Division 1 and Division 4, because Division 1 teams are just playing Division 1 teams. So what that means is if you want to get up to the higher levels, you've got to be playing in the higher divisions. And that's just going to be the case now if these counties want to progress. So I do think that will ultimately trump the couple of anomalies you've mentioned there, where a team will be like, well, if we're in Division 3, we might have a better chance of winning Division 3 instead of fighting for our lives in Division 2. I do think ultimately you'd rather be in Division 2, because at the end of the day, you're only one division off Division 1. And if you do finish in top 3, you're in those prelim quarterfinals anyway, whereas you do have to win Division 3. And if you get a good county in Division 3, it's not like a guaranteed either. But I don't want to go too far against arguing with that. I do accept a lot of the points, but I do think being in the